The War Room on Current TV. I'm Jennifer Granholm. Gas prices just keep getting higher. The national average is now $3.81 a gallon. And guess who 2/3 of Americans blame for this, according to the latest Bloomberg poll? Actually, they blame big oil. They believe oil companies and Middle East countries are exploiting tensions in the region to make an extra buck. 23% of respondents in that same Bloomberg poll point the finger, though, at the Obama administration, which actually is less than what I thought it was going to be, and it's less than other polls have said. But I know we've said repeatedly here on this show that there is nothing a president can do to bring down gas prices in any meaningful way, except maybe by talking to Bernie Sanders. So, Vermont's independent Senator Bernie Sanders believes that big oil is partially to blame, but says that Wall Street is the biggest culprit. And Senator Sanders is joining us in the War Room from Washington, D.C. Senator, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Good to be with you, Governor.
All right. So, you know, you've seen the polls, obviously, on gas prices. People are angry, some blaming the administration. And you have a solution. You have introduced, well, actually, you've written a letter, which I have in my hand, with a number of other members of Congress, I think 71 others, who have asked for a solution. Before me saying it, why don't you tell our viewers what you think can be done?
Well, Governor, here is the situation. You know, when we were in elementary school, we were told that supply and demand is what caused pricing. The reality today is that we have more supply, more oil supply, than we had 3 years ago when gas was $1.90 a gallon. There is less demand now than at any time since 1997 in the United States. And internationally, supply is outpacing demand by a factor of 2 to 1. So if it is not a supply and demand issue, what is causing gas prices to spike and causing so much pain in my rural state of Vermont and all over America? Well, what more and more economists believe, and what I believe, is that you have to look at the oil futures market, which is today controlled by over 80% by Wall Street speculators. You know, when people think about the oil futures market, what they're thinking is that people who are on that market actually use the product, like fuel dealers or airlines. The truth is that over 80% of that market is dominated by Wall Street speculators, huge amounts of money into that market, and the only function of the speculators is to make money, and they are doing that by driving prices up.
So how much is added to a gallon of gas by speculators?
It really is impossible to estimate, but there are people who think that the number is between 20 and 30%. Goldman Sachs, who is probably the largest speculator in the oil futures market, they themselves estimate that it's about 56 cents on a gallon of gas.
So are the speculators, your idea would be that the speculators are driving up the prices and buying and selling in order to get that additional margin. You have written a letter then to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and you've asked them to do something about it. What can they do about it?
Well, they can obey the law. How's that? Is that a very radical act? They can do what the law says. That, you know, people think, not incorrectly, that Congress does very little to protect consumers. I agree with that. But actually, in the Dodd-Frank financial reform bill, there was a provision put in there which said to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission that by January 2011, 14 months ago, that they were supposed to establish rules limiting the amount of oil that any one company could control. They were supposed to end excessive speculation. They're 14 months overdue right now. They still have not acted, and
Why?
It is time that they obey the law. Well, they will tell you, and I just spoke to the chairman, a gentleman named Mr. Gensler, a few days ago. He will tell you that they just, number one, there's a lawsuit by Wall Street against them. Number two, that there's just an enormous amount of information that they have to go through before they can establish rules. I would say that this is an issue where they have got to respond to the urgency of the moment. This is not just hurting consumers in Vermont and around the country. This is impacting the entire economy, and they have got to obey the law and they have got to act. And I would say that it would be absolutely appropriate for the President of the United States to give the chairman of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission a call and say, Chairman Gensler, how about obeying the law? Let's get some regs in there which end this extreme concentration of ownership on the oil futures market.
Who appoints the members?
The President of the United States with the approval of the U.S. Senate.
And the members that are there now, were they all appointed by President Obama or by Bush?
Some by Bush, some by Obama.
Where's the majority, do you know?
Yes, the majority is with Democrats. One of the arguments as to why they didn't pass strong rules a while back is that, as I understand it, you had 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and a conservative Democrat who did not want to go forward. That conservative Democrat is now out, replaced by a guy who I think, I just met with him recently, is prepared to do the right thing. So what the chairman has got to do is understand the urgency of the moment, bring the people together, vote strong rules which end excessive speculation on the oil futures market.
So the process right now, though, is with them. Have they even begun the rulemaking process surrounding this provision?
Yes, they have. They passed rules that were rather weak, but they are not even close to being implemented at this moment.
Is there any way that you could see implementation of that provision of Dodd-Frank in the next 9 months?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I think it's a question of willpower. I think it's a question of the president saying, look, we're trying to crawl our way out of this horrendous Wall Street-caused recession. Real unemployment is 15%. Millions of people are going to the gas stations. They're filling up. They can't afford $4 a gallon. We have got to act. So to answer your question, absolutely.
You've got a letter here, and of all of these members of Congress, and there are 72 of them, are Democrats. Why have no Republicans signed on to ending speculation?
Because I think if you sign on and you make the suggestion, which I believe is absolutely correct, that Wall Street is playing a significant role in driving up oil prices, you end the message of that it's all Obama's fault, there is not enough drilling and so forth and so on. So I think that would kind of divert attention away from their mantra that it's all Obama's fault.
Right, heaven forbid. Do we know what the role of lobbyists is in the formulation of these rules or their interaction with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission?
Yes, we do. And Wall Street is extremely powerful, as are the oil companies. You know, the American worker today, in terms of high oil prices, is in a sense caught in a pincer attack between big oil, which has made $1 trillion in profits in the last 10 years, and the Wall Street speculators who are enormously powerful. And I think add those together, that's why we're paying $4 for a gallon of gas.
So does since no Republican has signed on to this, and I haven't heard any Republicans who are running for president talk about speculation clamping down on it, but I have heard them saber-rattling about Iran and making noise about war. Does that noise about war drive up speculation, drive up potential profit-taking?
Well, I think it gives speculators a reason for driving up prices. Say, hey, we're worried about what's going to happen in the Mideast.
Yeah.
You know, we have just come out of the war in Iraq. We're still in the tragic war in Afghanistan. You got guys, some of my Republican friends want to go to war in Syria. They want to go to war in Iran. I think I give war a break for a change and start producing jobs in this country.
Well, I would say, too, there may be another link. Make the connection on this. But if you go to opensecrets.com, which is the website that lists all of the major contributors to Republicans and Democrats, the top contributors, for example, to Mitt Romney are all Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, all of the folks that you've identified as speculators. So perhaps it's not in their interest to tamp down on the speculation at the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and nor does Mitt Romney think that. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, I want to thank you so much for joining us in the War Room. I hope we'll have you back. Up next, the war on women is much bigger than Rush Limbaugh, but he did need to be dealt with. And Representative Jackie Speer did a bunch of the dealing, and she'll join me next. And then we're going to have an inside look at how we are caring for our returning veterans and how we should be caring for them. This is The War Room, and it's only on Current TV.